You might remember yesterday when Major Garrett was here filling in for Brian, I quoted briefly from something that we have it posted on our website or will soon, called Sharia for Dummies. This is a list of Sharia law provisions, and pleased today to tell you that the author of Sharia for Dummies, NONIE Darwish, an Egyptian-American human rights activist, joins us. And if you don't know, NONIE Darwish has come to the United States, fled Egypt, has written books such as Cruel and Unusual Punishment, The Terrifying Global Implications of Islamic Law. And NONIE, thanks for being with us. I'm curious to know, as an Egyptian, as somebody who has left Cairo, what do you see as the prospects of Islamic law, Sharia law, overwhelming the revolution or the change of government in Egypt?
There's a big possibility because there is a very recent poll done in Egypt that said that 75% of Egyptians want to live under Sharia law. And these are the same people who are probably wanting democracy. There is a high rate of misunderstanding in Egypt about Sharia, whereby people really believe that they can have freedom and democracy and Sharia at the same time.
Well, how strong is the Muslim Brotherhood in your view? Because as the military begins to take control or command of the society, it seems, at least we're being reported, that the Muslim Brotherhood is retreating. Is that your view, or are they just kind of regrouping in your view?
No, they actually want to work behind the scenes. The Muslim Brotherhood is entrenched in Muslim society. There are many members of the military who are Muslim Brotherhood. As a matter of fact, the first revolution in Egypt in 52, which was a coup against the king in 52, was actually a military coup, but they were all members of the Muslim Brotherhood. So let's not, misunderstand that the Muslim Brotherhood is part and parcel of Egyptian society, and that's why it's a very scary feeling that every family has some member in it who are a Muslim Brotherhood. So this is not like America and the Ku Klux Klan, for example, which is a very alien minority of a minority, something in America that nobody cares about. It is a very strong movement, and the population is very vulnerable to vote for it.
You quoted the 75% in that poll number, said that of Egyptians, I guess, wanted to live under Sharia law. And from judging from what you've just said about many people who are part of the Muslim Brotherhood in the country, do you think that number, 75%, is accurate?
I think so. I think the problem really is that every Muslim in their heart, they understand that according to Islamic law and Islam itself, a Muslim must wish and must want to live under Sharia. It's almost like if you're a Muslim, you have to want to live under Sharia. And there is a very important point that no one talks about, which is a lot of people think that Mubarak is a secular government, and that is not true, not in the sense of Western understanding of secular government. In 1991, Mubarak signed the Cairo Declaration together with 45 other Muslim countries that stated that Sharia Islamic law supersedes any other law for human rights. In these countries. So whether we like it or not, Sharia is the law of the land in Egypt.
Well, but it sounds like to me what you're saying then is that in Egypt and in other countries in the Middle East where there's Muslim population, which is pretty much all of them, that there is really no hope then for a government to work where it would be a secular government and where we could be strong allies.
Unless the Muslim population is educated that there is a choice, but until today, the way Islam is taught, across the board, even in America, Muslim groups in America are demanding Sharia. They want to live under Sharia law. They are trying to influence the American government that it's their religious right, and there is a movement of Islam everywhere. Wherever Muslims go, there is a demand for Sharia, and the reason for that is that Islam itself is taught today to include Sharia as part and parcel of being a good Muslim. And so the problem is from the education, and as long as Muslims believe that, we are going to have problems.
There's been some comment, certainly in Western press and organizations covering Egypt from afar, that somehow the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt is a more moderate, perhaps more democratic, more secular group. I gather, as somebody who's lived in that country and fled that country, you don't believe that.
Absolutely not. They are trying to. They are becoming very clever in the way they present themselves, depending on the situation. So when they are dealing with the West, they are trying to present themselves that they want democracy. But the truth is, they have been a terrorist organization, an extremist organization that wants to apply Islam and Sharia law to the letter, and they have caused the assassination or the attempted assassination of every president in Egypt. And they are the ones who killed the prime minister in 48, ousted the king in 52.
And killed Anwar Sadat, right?
Killed Anwar Sadat, attempted the killing of Gamal Abdel Nasser, and they were even members of the Muslim Brotherhood. Well, Sadat himself used to be a member of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Let me ask you something, because I've got your list, Sharia for Dummies, in front of me, and I wanted to ask you whether or not an Islamic regime in Egypt would be supporting these kinds of things. This is Law 23. There is no age limit for marriage of girls. The marriage contract can take place any time after birth and consummated at age 8 or 9. Number 24. Rebelliousness on the part of the wife nullifies the husband's obligation to support her and gives him permission to beat her and keep her from leaving the home. You live in America. You know that we supposedly are a defender of human rights and women's rights.
Yes.
What rights would they have? And does the Muslim Brotherhood believe this?
This is going on today in Muslim countries, whether officially Sharia law is there or not. There in the villages in Yemen, for instance, and Saudi Arabia, there are many girls who are married, and I'm sure you've heard of the 8-year-old girl in Yemen who was filing for divorce.
Yes.
In some Egyptian villages, there are very young girls who've been married, and nobody talks about it.
This happens in Egypt, where supposedly there's been a secular government.
It's done by lying about age, and the police close their eyes, and then beating the wives. This is a way of life there. And if you call the police because the husband is beating a wife, nobody's going to arrest the husband.
Right.
Because the Christian Copts in Egypt are being killed. There are drive-by shootings in front of their churches, and nobody gets arrested. You know why? Because under Islamic law, if a Muslim kills another Muslim, he gets a death penalty. But if a Muslim kills a non-Muslim, he does not get the death penalty.
You have that listed here.
Thank you, NONIE, very much for getting up early, especially. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for your help.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks,
NONIE Darwish.